Hello everybody, welcome to my game review. Hopefully it works out well. Well, Monster Hunter World. What can I say? It all started with World. And to give context, my first games on the PS4 were Sekiro and Devil May Cry respectively. So my standards were already set quite high. But Monster Hunter World delivered from the title screen to the first map. I knew it was going to be something special, but like little did I know, like it was going to become my obsession over the coming years, especially after the expansion. But the problem with the older titles, though, was how combat was structured. You would basically have isolated arenas to fight monsters and loading sections in between with the occasional diversions like gathering, fishing, etc., right? World changed all of that, you know, changing the segments into one large map with transitional zones, like bottlenecks. So technically you still have zones, you just have like, tunnels, like whatever, to just get to one place to the other, right? But, no more load screens, none of that stuff. And the brilliant thing that the world did, at least before the mounts, was if you enraged certain monsters, they just chase you across the whole map. Like Devil Joe, oh my goodness. So, like, it was really cool. But now, fast forward to today, I mean, not today, like Iceborne. This is going to be a long review. And it released and it picked up at launch, right? Monsters hit like a train. Every single one of them was like carting me and stuff. Like even the first monster. and like, it was normal. Everybody loved it. Like it was hard, it was challenging, it was something new. But then I gotta talk about the bad stuff, and this is why this review got so long. The wounding system saw its much hated prototype. The tenderized mechanic. Oh my goodness. The community was outraged. Weakest exploit got a 50% nerf on affinity. Right? Well, nearly, right? And hunters could enjoy the exciting gameplay of trying to grapple, hook on a giant monster, get thrown off, roared, or rejected off the monster because the game says so. Because you're like, in some border like area, like they're jumping in lava or like they're transitioning to like a place you can't go, right? Like jumping in like a lake or something. I don't know. But you better tenderize because the way the game was, at least at launch, was the monster health was so high that they expected you to do this, right? But if you didn't, then expect to like fight that same monster for 30 minutes because once you're like first time experience fighting a monster at master rank with like high rank or just like the starting gear, like you weren't doing any damage. Even if you built for it, like it was an uphill battle until you got to like mid to late game. And even then, I would argue you still had like ways to go, right? And it wasn't so bad, to be fair. Like tenderizing is cool as a concept, except it had two problems with it. Number one is it only like lasted, at least at launch, like 30 or so seconds. Like it was just like very, very short. So the payoff for wasting all that time not attacking the monster just to do extra damage really wasn't worth it in the beginning. In fact, all the way up until Fatalis, if I'm not mistaken. Like it was a drag. It was painful. Like, and the worst part about it, I'd say, and I still experience it to this day, is when you join casuals or like you're in multiplayer and you don't know the people that you're with in this game, like they will not tenderize. And it's I'll go even worse than that. Like they don't know how to play the game and they're wasting your time because the monster health goes up and you're doing your job and they're not, right? And it's kind of like that. This is the kind of like player base that got exposed because I don't think these people existed in Monster Hunter before because this was a Nintendo franchise, if I'm not mistaken, for like a few, like maybe a decade after the PS2, right? So I mean, it really ticked us all off when these guys started like coming in. But I got no hate for FromSoft. I played every one of their games. Like I wouldn't say I'm a fanboy. I just like fun games and stuff. But then I even started noticing it then. Like they just came into this game and they were like telling you how to play it, run glass cannon builds, no armor, no defensive skills, and they just do it for like bragging rights. And it would just sour the well. Like everyone was just like, "What are these people talking about? Like you're gonna get carded." And such is the case, right? Now, normally I would ignore it and just let people play the way they want, whatever, right? But it's when they started giving opinions about this game, I was actually kind of scratching my head. It's like, you're not really playing this game. Like, you're just like a tourist, if you will. You're coming into this game, you're giving your opinion, it doesn't actually really matter ultimately. And then inevitably, you have, like conflicts of conflicts of interest, right? Like, if you want this game to be like Dark Souls, or to be like this Ninja Gaiden-esque difficulty, right? I don't know what to tell you. I mean, go fight Fatalis, I guess. But that's about as close as you're gonna get. I mean, they're just pretending because, to be fair, like the Monster Hunter community was so nice that like nobody ever questioned, where these people, where they came from, what games they played before. They're just like, oh, cool, we have fans. We like fans. Now our game is popular, right? And we all thought it was a good thing. And then like more videos were being made, and like it was becoming more mainstream. Like Monster Hunter World was like a breakout. Plus Iceborne was a breakout, right? So they took advantage of countless builds and videos and using all caps and like the clickbait stuff, and they really like turned on the community, right? Because the community wasn't really like receptive of them, and they just complained about the difficulty, even though they're running through it like most of these guys who play this game like that, they'll start a hunt, and there's nothing wrong with this, right? But if you do this, you have no right to tell anybody else how to play, right? So you play the game normally with your glass cannon build, these supposed, pro players, pro Dark Soul builds and all that stuff. Ultimately, like, get like a lot of damage, can't dodge out of it, can't space, no iframes, nothing. Then they pop a max potion, right, which is this game's equivalent of easy mode. I don't care what anybody says. You only carry 2 of these. You can craft, I think, maybe like 5 max, and it just like ruins the game, because when you think about it, drinking a potion, right, this game's form of healing, is kind of like, in a lot of ways, I would argue it gave Dark Souls the idea of how healing would work in their games, where you have a character interrupt, their actions and just drink a potion. And on the surface, just seems like, something normal most games would do, but like the action of just drinking it will take roughly 2 to 3 seconds, right? And well, I think 2.5, and it leaves you vulnerable. You got to put your weapon away, and some weapons, when you try to put them away, they take a long time. I'll take that, Lunastra. Yeah, I fought Lunastra on the PS4, and let's just say I have stick drift on one of my controllers. Okay, but back to what I was talking about. These very same players with the max potions, they honestly were like telling people who've been playing this game for decades what the optimal builds were, and saying if you ran like any, comfort skills, evade, extender, whatever, right? They even frowned on defense boosts, right? They said you didn't know how to play, right? And you know what the worst thing about it is? Like, a lot of these people who are these, like, air quotes, speed runners, like pro players, they're kind of weird. Like, in the way that, you wouldn't really consider most people who play games to be like. And what I mean by that is, I have nothing against men who play a female character, whatever, right? Like, women are people too, so it's not a big deal. But I do have a problem when they start, like, that whole, yeah, dressing them up, skimpy outfits, anime schoolgirl. I was in this one match, dude, I wanted to rip my ears out. I don't know why Capcom, maybe it's like a Japanese thing, but the character sounded like a little girl, and I just wanted to fucking, like, I left the match. I couldn't handle that shit anymore. And you realize, like, these kinds of players who play it, right, oftentimes are the ones who call themselves pros and shit. I'm like, why are you calling yourself that? When you got serious problems, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you have to play the game as a man, but like you're running around as like this scantily clad, female character, running your glass cannon builds. It's like, what are you doing? You're not part of this. Like, look at the amount of like work that goes into like designing these armors and like all the different characters and stuff. And I'm not trying to say that like it's only one gender that gets like the benefit of like the designs and all that stuff. Like I like both of their designs. It's just we played this game for completely different reasons, and this is the number one fact of why I'm making this review, because I've put up with it in World and Iceborne. I saw it in Rise, but Rise and Sunbreak to me was more of a Japanese game. Like I had more experiences with Japanese players than Western players in Rise and Sunbreak, thankfully. So I didn't really have that problem there. But then coming back to Wilds, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, man, there is so goddamn many perverts when you join random servers in this game. And I'm thinking that it's some of the people who are jealous of the success of this game. Like they knew from the jump that this game was going to sell like crazy. All right, Japanese developer, highly acclaimed. Everybody wanted it for years. Personally, I know this is gonna sound weird. I was getting angry. I was literally getting angry at the fact that I could not play it sooner. I was seeing people with the early access build. They're like, "Oh, come on, Capcom, what's your problem, man? I need to play it." And let me tell you, when I first got my hands on it, it was like a different experience. But like, I'm getting off topic here, right? Like, let me, get back to it, right? Like, one of the things I like to do, me personally, right? Instead of like treating this game like a 9 to 5 job where you're just memorizing like every single monster's move list and you know how to dodge, perfect dodge everything, right? Like that's fine and all, but that's not how you play this game. This game is all about like adaptability and variables that you cannot control. And at first, I did not like that because I found that at World and Iceborne, they had this problem with the turf war system, right? And I forget when it was introduced. I think it was introduced in World, but I could be wrong about that. It could have been in, no, it wasn't introduced in World. Sorry, sorry, it's been so long. But what I'm saying is, oh, yo, check this out. Check it out. They say Capcom has no storyline. Check it out, dude. Check it out. What is that? Guardian glowing stuff? In World. Not even the expansion, the base game and environmental storytelling. First you got the Dalamadur like snake as the level, and then you have this Guardian corpse with the like the blue glowing stuff. And yeah, maybe it's like, last gen, but they were trying something out. Oh, I gotta show you this one. Like, see, I gotta talk about this game because if people started with like the previous titles, they have no idea about this kind of stuff. Like, you could just run around the map and see beautiful like things like this hidden like cave of wonders. I know I'm getting like a little like spammy with like talking about. I don't care. I like this game. This is what I'm talking about. Look at it. You don't even fight any monsters here. You just come here and you explore. You could pick stuff up and like whatever. I think there's like a little like fish in there or something. I'm just gonna, yeah, and the graphics are so good. Even to this day, I think the graphics are amazing. Like, look at it. Wow, there it is. That little fish. I saw him in Wilds too. It's pretty cool. Little like glowing bulb in his head. He's freaking out because I'm here. But yeah, like um, this is what World's all about. Like, it's not a speed run to the very end. Like, you're not supposed to beat every monster, get all the gear, and then call it a day. Like, this is the game. It's like it has the features of fighting monsters, difficulty, all that. But most of it, at least to me, was the exploration and the ecosystem. Now you got to understand that this was a prototype on the PS4. Like, not a prototype. Like it's a full game. It's a very good game. But I'm saying, like, the ideas that were being thrown around here didn't really like manifest fully until Wilds. And I think a lot of them skipped out in Rise and Sunbreak because yeah, it's a Nintendo console, whatever, right? And when you see the gameplay, like, this is why I'm showing so much of World and Iceborne, because once you see how jarring Rise and Sunbreak is, That's how you know like there's a huge divide in like the fan base, because for all the fans who've never tried World and Iceborne, they don't understand what they're missing out on. See, look at this, gorgeous. Look at that, the sun peeping through the corals and stuff, all the bugs. Bugs are gonna sting, trying to sting me. I got a grapple hook out of there, right? And like you could just like run across the map for like close to like 20 minutes. Like this is why I'm rocking the Lance build, so I could just run through the map. Look at that, amazing, man. But I honestly have to complain about these people, because if you love these kinds of games, or you just like them, or you're just curious about trying them, and you get like, okay, the game is too easy, the game doesn't have content, this and that, like who is that person? Who's the source of that misinformation? Because it is misinformation. Like, how do you say that and look at what I'm looking at and have that opinion? That is just. And this is the last version. This is the last gen version of the game. Wilds is so much better. Like, so much better. But I have to literally show you this. Like, this is the first time I went here when I first got the game, because I was just like new to it. Dude, I was so ashamed too. I didn't even rock Crit Boost 3. Mind you, I only played single player though, so don't worry. I was like fighting monsters for like literally like 40 minutes, sometimes even like close to an hour. Look at that. The detail, the detail. And like, you don't fight any monsters here. You just collect stuff, and like, look at this, the sand falling down. And this is the connection to the other zone. The Rotten Vale, which is really cool. Like you can see where the sand is falling down, and then like all that decomposing matter goes there. And it's that fish again. Fish out of water? Alright. A waterfall. I'm just like wandering around and stuff. But like, back to the reviews. Oh, hopefully I'm not ranting too much. Like, it's not a boss rush. Like, for real, it is really not a boss rush. And if you are treating it like that, you're not going to like this game. It's not the game for you. And we know this because we have fans of this game. Like, it's already been out, like, over a month now. Month and a week. If not more. I'm not sure. And Rise and High Rank comes out. And guess what? The people who played this game, right, complained not just about like Wilds and stuff, but retroactively they complained about Rise when Rise first came out, and it was high rank, right? They complained about the difficulty. They complained that they didn't have enough content, and the only content that they think about is just like the next fix. It's like they're addicted to like that Souls like grind. You know what I mean? Where it's like pain is pleasure. And I used to like or fool myself into liking some of the armor sets, some of the weapons, whatever, in like Dark Souls and stuff, and genuinely some of them are really nice. But it hits you with a reality check when you swing at an enemy and you do like chip damage, like very partial damage, and they swing at you once and they almost kill you. And this is the case for almost all the enemies in the game. And the way they want you to play it, the Dark Souls community, is to perfect dodge everything. Like, if you see most videos on Dark Souls, Elden Ring, I guess Bloodborne by extension, but, Bloodborne fanbase is actually pretty chill. To be fair, the Bloodborne fanbase kind of hates the Dark Souls fanbase because, yeah, they're nerds. And the Bloodborne fanbase are chads. They're cool people. If you like Bloodborne, you're a cool person. But the one thing I like to do in these kinds of games is that you can see by my character, like my little like this is my gathering build, by the way. I don't use it for anything other than to just gather, and it's like colorful with the green lucky tiger. So when I pick things up, hopefully I get like a little extra something. And I would just make layers, tons and tons of layered armor, right? Now I could show it to you, but that's like boring. That's like, that's my opinion, and oh, look at my armor, look at me, look at how special I am, right? But what I'm trying to get at is, I'm telling you this because the people who play this game, right, and dress their character up as like, I don't know, a fucking schoolgirl or like something that just it shows their like level of immaturity. Like it just makes me not want to play the game, you know? Like, can you imagine the developers who worked on this game, and they're just like sitting down and they're just watching all these fucking like guys from Twitch and whatever just playing their game, showing off all the footage to people who haven't played it or purchased it, and they're just wondering to themselves like, why is it like this? And this is why it took me so long to come out with this game review, because when Nintendo first announced the Switch 2, right? I was like, oh my goodness. Like, as someone who's interested in being a game developer, I thought it was kind of nice. Like, well, at least in a market where inflation and like the value of the dollar fluctuates, you can always be sure that you're in good hands because the corporations will take care of you. But then I thought about it even more, right? So I don't know. I didn't really feel like getting angry because even though I like Nintendo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't feel as if their new console is worth it. Like, you know what I mean? If I have a PS4, I basically have a Switch 2, right? A PS4, mind you. And even though they're saying that the Switch 2 can output to 4K, I really don't give a shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when they show it off Dustborn again, I am a huge FromSoft fan, but more to the Armored Core side than to the Dark Souls side, right? And I also like Metal Wolf Chaos. And what I see is like, you know, like the way you like color your armor and the fashion and all that stuff versus like, what you were given and like what these games want you to be. Like, I think like Elden Ring is like a wake up call. It's like you probably have like 20% of the armors in the game, or maybe less, that are, decent looking. They look kind of nice, but they don't really mesh well together. So, well, like a lot of them, in my opinion. And then the rest are like, peasants' robes, wizard robes, just different colorations of the same knight uniform. Like, there's nothing wrong with it the first time. It's just get ready to see it another like 5 times, right? And can you imagine those kinds of people coming into the game and then just like turning it into what it is now? Because you're starting to see it, and I waited until Title Update 2 drops so I can think to myself, well, what does the community have to say about this game now that they've gotten what they wanted? They got an additional 2 monsters with a third one coming. Well, it's technically an arch-tempered, so it just means the higher difficulty, but it also means a new armor set, so I'm happy, right? I'm easy to please. So it's like 2.5 monsters, if you want to be technical, right? And the community outright said garbage. I'm serious. They said garbage. There's this guy I went to. I'm not gonna name names, by the way. This is just a game review, right? I went to this guy's game guide on the new weapons and stuff introduced in Update Title 1. The guy said he's not impressed, and that it doesn't do more damage. And then he left it at that, and left. He was like a 10-minute review of like the new stuff. It probably took Capcom a while to make, right? But the guy just he just didn't care, and he made me so angry because I'll subscribe to him. He was a good guide for like how to play the game a certain way with certain weapons, and I just couldn't handle it. I'm like, no, I disagree with you. I think the title update is amazing. I think the stuff that they gave us is amazing. Like, even if it's not the most damaging thing, the fact that they brought back Bubble Dance from Rise made me so happy. I was just like, wow. Like a cool synergistic skill that works with other skills in like creative ways. So instead of doing damage or waiting for the monster to get angry or hitting a monster in certain places, the basic stuff, you get something where if you dodge, now you get a boost. You get, if you're using certain kinds of weapons, you get a boost, you get, more iframes, you dodge to attacks. I was doing that today. I was like, wow, I can't believe they said that this was bad. I can't believe I almost died to an attack. Well, I did, right? And then I came back after I carded, and then I started dodging more, and I just noticed I can iframe through it. And I was like, so why would they say it's bad? Well, Again, it's not their game. This, like, you have to understand that these guys are passengers. Like, a lot of streamers who aren't fans of the franchise, they they treat it like a job. It's a 9 to 5 for them, and we have to, unfortunately, start considering the sources before passing judgment. And I do say unfortunately because we have to understand that a lot of streamers are trash. Okay? Not just the popular ones, but also like some of the ones who have this like, you know, like non-fan appreciation for the series, right? Like if you're a fan of the series, like I have no right to speak on your enjoyment of the game because you probably enjoy it for like the same or even different reasons than me, but it's genuine versus I'm gonna make content off of this game, right? Everyone's gonna enjoy it, and I'm gonna make money off of like ad revenue, which is just trash. Like and like Capcom is figuring this stuff out too. Like the whole thing with Nintendo and the Wii U 2 console, Switch, Switch 2 console costing 450, right, in America was due to the fact of streamers. And here, let me like elaborate. See, streamers basically plagiarize the entire game, like the entire storyline of these Nintendo games for the public to see. Now, this isn't anything new. This has been happening to every single, game company, PC games, everybody. The streamers are parasites, right? The specifically the ones who run through multiple games and they're not fans of the series and they're just like playing them for the sake of playing them. Like, the kinds of streamers that like for a fact that like they're not really fans of the series because they'll drop it after a week or two and then they'll go on to something else. And it gets to me where I don't think we have very many genuine people reviewing this game, unfortunately. When you get reviews and people are saying they're disappointed with this game, the reality of that situation all stems from the fact that they're not fans of this series. They're just not. It's not possible for somebody to like something this in depth and this like with much attention to detail and care and then like put it down. Like to me that just seems insane. Like think about it like this. I got Devil May Cry 5 and Sekiro. And the summer that I got, Monster Hunter, I could not stop playing it. And I was like wondering to myself, what the heck? Like let me like at least try to get Super Devil Trigger in Devil May Cry 5, right? This was mind you, this was before Virtual, so it was really hard, right? But I just couldn't stop playing it. And then when Iceborne came out, I was already decked out. Like I had like layered armor. I had check it out. This is Rise. See the difference? But this is actually kind of gorgeous though. This is probably the best map in the whole game. But yeah. So like I was just like hooked on the series. Like the thing that really drew me in with Rise though was like the armor sets. Like all of them, they're really good. I'd say though, for some reason, and I might be alone on this, a lot of the base armor sets, like in high rank, are sort of better than master rank. Although sometimes it's the other way around. But that's my opinion. And like this is a huge, at least to me, graphical downgrade, right? But the gameplay is faster. It's a lot more fluid, a lot more fun and stuff. Monster variety is there, and yeah, it's a game, but I find that this game ultimately wastes your time by making you go from point A to point B. And then, like, you know, get all the spirit birds, collect all the endemic life. But I still liked it, though. It was good. Because it's like, oh, sorry about this. This is why it's a long review. I really need to edit this, but, like, I already rendered it, so, like, bear with me and my pause screen of boredom, you know? For all 3 people watching this review, please forgive my pause menu stuff. Maybe in the future, I'm gonna clip this out, but the video's already out, so whatever. It's gonna take forever for me to just keep doing this. And yeah, the Switch 2 basically is a response to people plagiarizing the Nintendo games to the point where nobody can really enjoy them. You know what I mean? And the Western audience has a completely different philosophy on how to play games than the Eastern, philosophy, which is enjoy the game, be creative, you know, see everything you want to see, and don't take it too seriously. That's the problem I find that like this game as like different as it is, one thing, yeah, there you go. You have a dog like burying itself and digging itself out of the ground. To be honest, I think that was in World as well, but like, it's just funny to see. You know what I mean? Like the cartoony aspects of this game are, it's there. Like you can even do stuff like I just threw a knife at Nagamal. I mean, Rajan. Why did I get that mistake? I trust me. I'm a fan of the series. Um, and like do goofy stuff like that. Like, like even my good friend who's also like a streamer of the game. Well, I got introduced to him by jumping on his streams and stuff. But I consider him a good friend because he's also a fan of the series, and he is expecting me to come up with this review, and I want to be as elaborate as humanly possible. I know I'm probably running around in circles. Maybe I said the same thing twice, but like it's important that actual fans of the series can like watch this and like get full context and stuff. So like this, they complained about Rise, no content, Rampage, no final boss, at least at launch. The usual. And guess what? Wilds was more or less the same. Although graphically vastly superior, it was more or less the same thing where, the difficulty was meh, it was okay. And yeah, the same people who want these games to cause frustration instead of fun, try to basically poison the well. Like, and you know what's weird about them? It's like they're the ones who use max potions. Like, how are you gonna tell me that the game is too easy when you're playing it on easy mode? You know what I mean? And you can call me on my bullshit. Like, go to any one of these streamers. And again, I'm not gonna name names. This is just a review. But I'm just gonna come out and say this. Like, if you go to a streamer and like there's ones who are like cool, like Raging Gaming, Dear Gamer. I made a list. Amatsu Ryu. These are actual fans and people who care about the series. And where the hell can I put it? Fuck it. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, they're the people who like made builds from way back in the day. And when you start seeing like these random like faceless YouTubers and like guide videos coming from like disembodied like anime voices or like the best like school you've like reached rock bottom territory, right? Where you're just dealing with people who are like fake fans. Like, they just come here to wipe their like ass on the community, dude. Like, real talk. When this is all said and done, they're off to another game from the jump too. Like they knew they were gonna make a lot of money, talking about this game, e-begging, going on their streams and stuff. Like, hey, check out this Monster Hunter footage, blah blah blah. And I gotta call it for what I see it. Like, they're the reason that Nintendo isn't jacking up the price. And here's the funny part, right? And this is where the whole rant, like, reaches its boiling point. See, in Japan, they didn't actually increase the price. Like, think about that for a second. You're paying 450 American, I think, for the console. It's only 300. Well, actually, whatever, 320, 330, something like that, after conversion, right? Um, Also, the $10 surplus charge, I think, is only a Western thing on the physical media, but I need to figure that one out. Well, like, when you really consider why they did it, right? It's obvious. They're tired. They're tired of being criticized. They're tired of being plagiarized. You see how hard they work on these games, and they're getting like, okay, so Wilds got an 8 out of 10, which is a good score, but for Wilds, that's insane. If you like, you're gonna see the footage in the real world. I'm just showing off. This is like the second last level. Take that. This is second last level in Rise, and then I'm gonna talk about what they Oh no, I'm gonna show you the Vice footage. I mean Wild Switch. I'm losing my mind here. I told you this is a long ass review, right? But as long as I have footage to show you, it's all good because that in and of itself is like one of those things where I think most people can put up with my like mannerisms and stuff like gigantic ass script I have here. Like where am I? Okay, so yeah, this is Rise and Sunbreak introduced like a new kind of like difficulty though, which is I think in response to the clickbait, YouTube e-begging like grifter crowd. Like Capcom, I can't really blame them, dude. They have a language barrier. Like think about it. They see their game, right? They just, do a cursory like, YouTube search or whatever, and then they see these videos popping up like all caps, how to do the most damage, how to like this, how to that, and like think about it, you're not raging gaming, you're not dear gamer, you're not a build maker, okay? You get GTFO, you know what I mean? But that is what it is though. Like you're dealing with a bunch of people who are not like fans of the series. It's just the way it is. So yeah, here we are. The future, like we all wanted a next gen Monster Hunter game, one that will graphically, be the spiritual successor to World. World was getting a resurgence. Even Capcom was, speaking whispers about a new game. I lost my place on the script, but I'm not. Re-record. Oh yeah. Here we go. I forgot, but now I remember because I can look at the video and actually make a review. And yeah, like the thing that they added in World and Iceborne, at least for like certain monsters, was the ability to put status on other monsters, status that you couldn't even do. So this is defense down, right? You could put defense down on you too, so that means you take additional damage, which you can notice by like the smoke effects. It's a little faint. It's actually more noticeable, surprisingly, on Elder Dragons. Like you can really see them like struggling and stuff. But it works on every single monster, right? So I was like, wow, this is really cool. I hope I can get a weapon that can also do this. Like you can argue exhaust, and in this game they have Elder Seal. And I think it was like a thing in the older titles, which it just locks like Elder Dragon power. And yeah, it was it. It was just, they just touched on it. But then along comes Rise and Sunbreak, and check this out. You get to carry a bunch of beetles with you, and boom, just like that. Snowblight. Now this monster moves slower. Pretty cool. Right? But it's tied to endemic life. You have to pick it up, and there's only a limited supply. So if somebody picks up the snow beetle, you don't have it anymore. Right? So it's a kind of like a more of a gimmick than it is a gameplay feature. But it was cool. Right? Like in a game like Rise Sunbreak, where it's like arcadey, cartoony, it's like one of those things where I find that, if they expanded upon this, it would make the game really good. And that's why I'm making this review, because they actually care about the fans, not about the people who play this game for the sake of playing the game and making money. It's kind of weird how we're in a society of people who do not do anything for the gaming community, and they have expectations of game developers, all because they purchased the game that we all purchased, by the way. We all bought it, not just them, but they feel entitled to tell everybody how they feel about the game, right? And I just teabag Manzamalo. but I have to bring it up. I have to bring it up because if Capcom starts listening to the DS crowd, to the speedrunners, not like pros, I'm talking about like guys who speedrun the game to like get the content out, make their money, and then move on to the next game. That's what I mean by, well, I guess you would call it career streamers, if you will. Like This is their 9 to 5, dude. Well, if you can call it that, right? Like, could you call this a job? Like, I call it more of a job, right? Being on the other side, you know, I don't know if they use Blender. Most likely, like 3D Studio Max or something more advanced. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I know what this is like to go through the process of taking a gray cube, molding it, messing with it, you know, stretching it along the axes X, Y, Z, and eventually it turns into the monster you love, right? But it's a process, and sometimes it doesn't turn out as well as it does. Like, case in point, this is Basil in this game, right? He makes his return, but he's vastly less detailed, vastly, right? Like, he still has more or less the same amount of scales that, you know, fall off randomly, but they don't do it individually like they did in World and Iceborne. So, and Nargacuckoo's back, yeah. Nargacuckoo should be in every game. Every game. Okay? That's how cool he is. But like, we all knew that this was going to happen. Wilds was going to come out. It was going to be the graphically superior sequel to, you know, World, Iceborne. Right? This was only a transient phase where, excuse me, Capcom was trying out ideas on how to like make their game. So, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot about Hunter and Eric's Gaming. So sorry about that, guys. I jump on your streams a lot, and I like to comment and stuff. You guys are nice, you know. Go check them out. Oh, by the way, if you're watching this review, go subscribe to Amatsu Ryu. He's a streamer. He's like a pro, and he's a big fan of the series, right? He is like the antithesis of everything I'm saying right now about, like, you know, people plagiarizing this game and like playing, you know, plagiarizing themselves to be fans of this game more likely, and playing this game off like it's just another, like, you know, just another release. Like, these games are in the oven for like at least 2-3 years, and I'm guessing Wilds was probably even more. I would go as far as to say, and I might be alone on saying this, that they were probably developing Wilds the second Iceborne and Fatalis, like the last content of Fatalis dropped. And the reason why I say that is because of 2 skills, and you're going to see them in shortly. Well, actually, no, just 1, because, damn, this video is going to be like an hour long. So I'm sorry if you've made it this far, and you've put up with like all my, like, you know, ranting about Nintendo and the Western audience or whatever, you know, plagiarizing Nintendo games and markup for their specific, you know, markets and stuff. Yeah. Congrats, because now we're gonna get into why I made this review. See, when Capcom introduced these skills, like the blights in Rise, Sunbreak, here's the water one, we kind of figured that this would be the evolution to like carrying elemental weapons, you know what I mean? Like, maybe an add-on, not too strong, but like, you know, something that like you'd sacrifice something for, like, you know, it's always a give and a take, right? But we never really knew like how it would manifest, because we never got defense down, and we just never really, like, it would be cool to set a monster on fire, but you can just poison them, you know, like, we never thought, like, I never thought that they would come back and say, like, you know, let's do what we did before, because it seemed like a cool idea. But only people, honestly, who played this game would, like, understand that this is, you know, something that they wanted to do, right? Well, crap, I think I messed up the video. Well, whatever. They prefaced their opinion, though, by saying that this game is easy only through, like, you know, the filter of like how fast or how long they fight a monster. Like, if they fight a monster and they beat it in like 5 and under, then they think it's a good game. But if they have to drag it out, they're like, ugh, this game is too, like, you know, grindy, it's too this, it's too that. You know what I mean? So I think they learned their lesson a little too retroactively with Iceborne and like World, and they kind of dumbed it down until you got to anomaly grinding in Rise and Sunbreak, and that's why most of the people wrote it off, because if you didn't actually play these games, you wouldn't know this, right? Well, I gotta start talking about Wilds because it's almost the end of the review, and we got like 5 minutes left anyway. So like the skills in Wilds are now divided specifically because of these speed, like the career streamers, right? And you can't necessarily fit like the most attack, the most, you know, anything on a build anymore, because with the division, the real estate of like certain skills on your weapon become almost restrictive, if you know what I mean. Like you can't have a fully crit boosted gun lance with full artillery and magazine space, at least not yet, right? Because the space is just isn't there for them, right? Here's the Fireblight, by the way. And I see that as like, yeah, this is the response. They knew from the jump that the career gamers were gonna play this game. They're gonna get their hands on it, and they're just gonna like build like the most broken builds, make a video, put it in all caps, monetize it. It's just so annoying. You know what I mean? So annoying. So like they nerfed attack boost. Attack boost only goes up to level 5. And only has a partial percentage increase. Iframes got nerfed. You need level 4 instead of 3 before. I got whacked. And yeah, everything. Like, but then you got the upgrades for all the people who actually played the game. You only need 3 level 2 slots for earplugs. Same thing with wind resistance and tremor are now level 1 decorations. Oh, look at them graphics! Look at them graphics! Right? And this is what I'm talking about. When you have a good game, like, you know, Wilds, you can basically, like, you know, add new skills, like convert element, as you see here, and then just like so, you're gonna see a huge like extra luck. Look at that, boom! And he just takes this damage, and eventually falls down. Yep, loving it. They literally like listened, and they never really had a dragon like Light in the previous titles. You can see the evolution on how they would like introduce like certain skills like burst, which is like increasing damage to continuously hitting the monster, and other skills like carrying over from Rising Sunbreak, and then the final evolution to Elemental, and like, you know, maybe even Status Lights will get like some sort of an increase, you know, like maybe a paralysis that like, I don't know, does electric damage, I don't know, speculating, right? But this is what I'm saying, like Capcom themselves are the best source for how your opinion should be formed about this game. I think the community outside of the fan base, like the hardcore fan base, and I would even go as far as to say some of the people who have been hardcore fans for years, who don't like Wilds or whatever for whatever reason, might have, like, unfortunately for me to say, might have never been fans of the series at all. And that's just the reality of it. Like, you can't, you know, be done with it. Like, there's an inevitable, like, realization that the thing that you like to do is always going to be, you know, brought under scrutiny by people who are not fans of the series. Like, it's just the way things are. And I've probably been ranting a lot about, you know, the anti-community rather than talking about Wilds, so I'll just be brief, okay? So, like, Wilds has an open world where everything and anything is possible. The enemy count is much higher, and the possibilities are endless. Beyond the nerfing of damaging skills, I'd say the only thing Wilds needs, if anything, is to stop listening to the fake community. I'm serious. The community of Monster Hunter Wilds, at least as it stands right now, is not a community. It's kind of a group of people that, you know, decided that this was going to be their new form of profit. And if the Nintendo response to the consumer market of North America is anything to go by, then you have to think about the same thing. Like, who is criticizing this game? Why are they playing it? You know, like, what is the point of saying to people that there's no content in this game when you look around and all you see is content? Like, all I feel is content, you know? Like, I look at this giant jellyfish. This is the first time I ever seen this thing. I had to throw it in the video, right? Here, like, even though I think the game is graphically superior, I'm also a firm believer in, like, you know, leaving spoilers out, even though it's been out like for over a month and so, because I'm gonna be honest with you, man, most of the people who haven't played this game are gonna get this like really bad opinion about it, unless somebody like me, like a guy who makes troll videos and, like, you know, unprofessional videos, just talks about it. Well, anyways, thanks. I mean, thanks for coming through. Bye, and have a nice day.